My family lives in the Netherlands at the moment. Yeah, because I grew up in New England.
All right, I'm going to call the 23rd meeting of the Undergraduate Senate to order, or the 13th Undergraduate Senate to order. I'll begin by calling roll. Senator Colchimero. Senator Friedman.
Present.
Senator Dantzler. Senator Meekum. Senator Chen. Senator Adams. Senator Fryer. Senator Kenna. Senator Martine. Senator Zitzman. Senator Roberts. Senator Legitimacy. Senator Robbins.
Present.
Is Tanya still here?
Do I get to say present as well?
Did I not say your name? Oh. Senator DeGoes.
Present.
Amazing. Okay. Okay, quorum is met. We're good.
Woo!
Moving to the adoption of the agenda. Is there any discussion on the agenda? Senator Zitzman.
I'd like to add bill number 40 that I sent you to new business.
Okay. Yeah, give me 1 second. Where would you like it added?
New business, put it after Curtis.
The title?
It's called the Bill for Long-Term Goals.
Any other discussion on the agenda? Senator Friedman.
Again, the confirmation of Julia Basie was removed. Have we received any kind of reasoning for why we're not meeting with her?
Yeah, last week was work, and she was supposed to be here this week. So I don't know. She just didn't show up this week, so that's why she's not on the list. She was removed, so because she couldn't go through CRP, and therefore she's not in full Senate. Other discussion on the agenda? It will be adopted without objection. Moving to the adoption of minutes from the 21st meeting. Any discussion on the 21st meeting minutes? They're all sent out to you. Hearing none, they'll be adopted without objection. Discussion on the 22nd meeting minutes. Seeing none, they'll be adopted without objection. All right, moving to public comment. Any member of the public wishing to speak at this time? Seeing none, we'll move to reports from the officers. First to President Fernandez.
Hey everyone, I don't have to report getting officially I spoke to you all last week for extensive updates. But this is just a reminder, you all should have gotten an email. The budget, university budget roundtable is this Wednesday from 6:30 p.m. to 8 p.m. in MGC Flat 5. Please show up. I've talked about Senate participation in a lot of events, and there's still a lot of you that I've never seen in an AUSG event, frankly. And this is like an important one. Like the provost will be there, the chief financial officer will be there. We're really trying to make sure the conversation is student friendly and relevant to student needs and questions that we all have about university budget. So please be there. This is your chance to really ask for transparency and have a candid conversation. There's a video coming out tomorrow, so please share it out on social media. It's really exciting. I think that this is one of the small, student government, this is one of those things where we're actually putting people in the room where they need to be together. So please make sure that you're sharing that, because I think it's something our student community actually really values this and seen of. So that's it. That's all I have for y'all.
Questions for the president? Seeing none, we'll move to the Associate Comptroller Burgess and the Comptroller Cabinet report. I'm gonna bring it over.
Great. All right. Hi, everyone. So some of you that don't know me, my name is Milan Burgess. I'm the Associate Comptroller for AUSG, and I'll be stepping in for Giselle today. She couldn't make it because of class this weekend. Okay. So this is just the agenda that I'm just going to run through, just like the role of the Comptroller, exactly what it says in the bylaws. I'll be talking about the funding request document. Then I'll be going into talking about co-sponsorships and what is like the cabinet's definition of what a co-sponsorship is, and just giving a list of some examples of co-sponsorships we've done so far. And then I'll be going into the master budget list, and then also the August and September budget, as well as just some future visions that the cabinet has, and then just contact information for both of us. Okay, so this is just the role of the comptroller. This is just directly pulled from the bylaws. For some of the new senators and then those that might be getting confirmed today. The comptroller shall function as the chief financial official of the student government and must personally authorize and put under their signature any document or agreement which carries financial obligation for the student government. So I'll just talk a little bit more about what this exactly means, because the role of the comptroller has shifted a little bit for some of the organizations that are in student government. And in this capacity, the comptroller shall also represent the student government in any capacity which involves the fiduciary affairs of the university. Okay, so this is the AUSG funding request document that I have worked on. It's very straightforward, very simple. It just has the name of the president treasurer, organization name, event date, event description, how much money they're requesting, and also what do the costs entail. So exactly, let's say if an organization is asking for $250, what is the breakdown? If it's going to be $50 towards food, $100 towards maybe like promotion materials, just giving us a breakdown. But these last three questions right here are the main important part that's a part of this document. Do you have a 25 live confirmation? So before, previously in the comptroller's cabinet, or just how previous comptrollers has dealt with signing off on money, they've given money away to organizations, and sometimes either the event will not go through or the organization will use the money for something else. So for them to answer this question, we want to be able to know, like, actually for sure that the event's going to take place. And that just gives us a validation for us to also go and support the event to just see how it's going to be run. And are you receiving any alternative funding for this co-sponsorship? So before, something has happened in the past where clubs organization will come to AUSG and be like, hey, we want, let's say $300. And we're like, okay, sure, we'll give you $300. And then we find out later on that they actually had got some money from other organizations. So this is just for us to be able to reach out to other clubs organizations that they might have received money from and just be like, hey, how much are you giving them? This is how much we're thinking about giving them. Just kind of like having an open communication. And then if not given the total amount of money requested, how would you fund it different? So if we're not able to give, let's say a huge amount, like sometimes we've had some organizations come to us and said they want like $1,000 for a conference. It's just not feasible and not possible to give $1,000. So in the event that we can't give them that amount of money, but we can give them maybe half of that, where will they get the other amount of money? And also, go back to that real quick. So this right here, we haven't sent it out to fully AU. I just don't think that we need to. So the way I'm thinking about kind of fast tracking this is that working with AUCC, so there might be a club that is trying to do an event and they really need a co-sponsorship. AUCC can send out this link and just be like, hey, maybe possibly think about AUSG as a possible option. And then that will just be a link that they send to them. And then I'll also go into the next slide where I'll talk about what it is to have partnerships, and then also how those partnerships then become friendships. So these are just some of the co-sponsorships that's happened for the month of August and September. So Escape Room DC and Explore DC, that happened during the summer. So that came out of the summer amount of allocations, and then Caribbean Circle. So that's one of the big, where I talk about partnerships and friendships. So Caribbean Circle has been putting on this event every year, which is like a welcome back mixer. And almost relatively so far, AOSG has been supporting them with some type of financial contribution. But that's a prime example of how it became a partnership where we gave them money for their welcome back event. And now it's become a friendship where every year they can expect to at least come to AOSG and can expect us to give some type of financial contribution because they've been a good partner and a friend with us. And then PRSSA, and then also Sister are some logistical co-sponsors we've done so far for this up until October. So this is the master budget spreadsheet list that I have worked on. So it's just this overall budget. It kind of looks very similar to the legislation that was passed last year in a special committee for finance, and then it went to full Senate. And then it just has a total amount. There is another part to this that just has the remaining balance, but the reason why I'm not showing it is because KPU, Women's Initiative, and SELF, and that's why it's an asterisk mark there. So before in the past, the comptroller has signed off on things that those three organizations have needed, and then it's followed up the chain of command to another person's student activities, and then they've been able to get the money. But because their budgets are so large, the comptroller will not be signing on them anymore. So what those directors do, they'll just directly go to my student activities, be like, hey, we need this amount of money for this event, and then it's just a fast track, my can sign it off, and they'll have the money. So this is just, these numbers that are here, just what's left so far in the accounts. For DOPAR in case, I just have to double check with Secretary Alex and also Director Hawk just to make sure those numbers are correct. But as far as I know, those are the solid numbers that are left in the accounts. For SG General, $3,278.20. Capital Aid still has $5,000. The SG Travel Subsidy, $2,649.20. The only reason why it's a little bit less than it is because there's a little bit of money that was taken out for a National Leaders Conference this summer. And then VP Fund still has that amount. I double checked it with And then down here at the bottom, August, September, October, all those months up until May. The way those spreadsheets look is just like everything from the beginning to the end of the month for SG related, SG General, SG Restricted, or for any of the different three organizations. So instead of us signing off on things that they're doing, we're just gonna make sure basically just keep track of like the numbers and see what they're spending. So going back to the expenses, so this is what's happened in August and September. The amount, so this is what is going to be fast tracked and put onto the ASG website. And I'm going to be working with Secretary Alex just to make sure that's updated on the website before fall break begins. I just have to figure out with Maya or Ebony, just to figure out how do I go about putting Women's Initiative, Sub, and KPU stuff on here that doesn't have speaker fees. So if they have maybe like money for catering, does that also go onto this that gets sent out to students? Okay, so these are some of the feature visions. So we have 3 big visions that we kind of want to push forward into Comptroller's Cabinet, amongst many others. So the first vision is collaborations and co-sponsorships. So that goes back into our partnership and friendships. So we want to assist with more funding for multicultural clubs and organizations on campus. That's one of the big things that Giselle had pushed forward when she had ran for comptroller last year. So that's something that we want to continue to push this year. Doesn't mean that we don't want to have events with non-multicultural clubs on campus, but that's just one thing that she's trying to push just so that they can see that AUSG wants to create that that type of friendship with them. Also want to streamline a more transparent process that will be in these study scripts. So that just goes back into the AUSG funding request document, just making sure that it's a fast, easy process. So when they fill out that document and they give us all that information, it's not just us saying, okay, this is how much you want, we're going to sign off on the dotted line. It is us having a conversation physically in person with them, just to like walk us through the event and like how can AUSG be not just a financial contribution, but also like a partner during the event that actually takes place. And then promoting co-sponsorship with clubs and organizations, that just goes back into the partnership and the friendship that we have with Caribbean Circle. That's kind of the model that we want to have with other clubs and organizations on campus for this academic year. Now moving on to Senate partnerships. So this is one of the big goals that I think I'm going to be able to accomplish because I've been in your shoes as a senator, and now it's a little bit different being kind of like on the exec side of things, but just working alongside with the newly undergraduate, 14th undergraduate Senate once they get sworn in, and then also collaborating with the chair and the special committee on finance. So last year I served as the vice chair of the finance committee. So just helping them when it gets to that time around April, May to work on the ASG budget, as well as the stipends for the 2019 and 2020 academic year. And then this discussing potential legislation that directly impacts AUSG as a whole. This just goes back into President Fernandez's event that she's having this week with Director Tia Jackson that's going to be hosting it, the Director of Academic Excellence. If there might be any type of goals that the new senators have that might be related to financing or budget that's within AOC or even university-wide, which I encourage a lot of senators to attend the event that's happening this week. That just kind of goes into where I can kind of be like good help in terms of legislation that they might want to actually implement. And then into our last vision, budget transparency. So transparency of the allocations within the AOC budget. That's kind of like very simple, very cutthroat. That's just, I think it should be a transparent process where students can see where their money is being used at. I'm working with Alex, Secretary Alex, to make sure that every month the budget is updated to all AOC social media platforms. So not that it's just updated to the budget transparency tab that's on the AOC website, but also making sure that on all of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, that this stuff is being promoted so that students can actually go and visit it and see it. And the bi-monthly update in the undergraduate assembly was what's occurring in the comptroller cabinet. I said during my confirmation hearing process that I was going to try to make it to almost every single undergraduate senate meeting because I do work and internship and other things on campus. It might not always be here every week, but I want to at least try to be like a familiar face in the Senate. Just so that if there's any questions that senators might have that are in this body or the new body, they can just come and say, hey, Mulan, I have a question about this, or can you explain what this is or what you meant in your update. That's it. This is our contact information, Giselle's and mine. If you already have it on social media. And that's it. Thank you.
Questions for the associate, Senator Colchimero.
Well, thanks very much for that presentation. There's a lot. I have a question about the co-sponsorships. What kind of criteria or guidelines do you guys use when you're deciding what you're going to choose to co-sponsor and what you might not contribute to?
Yeah. So that was a good question. So it was a meeting we had with Ayana just to figure out exactly what do we define as a co-sponsorship. So there will be times where we can't fund every single event, but I think what we're trying to do is on a first come, first served basis, but we also are trying to make sure that that money spreads into next semester. So we're not trying to, like every club that has come to us so far, there's just been something we weren't able to fund because how much is too much. And we know that we also want to continue to have that money go into the spring semester. So it's the criteria is kind of like very just like straightforward. It's the first come, first served basis. And it could be a multicultural club, it cannot be a multicultural club on campus. But if it is an amount that is too much or just not feasible to take out of our budget, then we just can't fund it.
Senator Zitzman.
When we passed the budget last year, because of the way that the accounts worked, there was a significant part of the programming budgets that was supposed to roll over, not like at the time of budget, but sometime in this semester. So I'm wondering if you can update us any information about that rollover, whether that's going smoothly.
As far as I know, when I've talked with Leela and also met with Maya and Ebony, who are the ones that control their budgets, their numbers and our numbers match up, so everything has been going smoothly. However, because I said before in my presentation that we aren't able to sign up on their budget because it is too large. So I would say on our end and on student activities end, it's going well. But if you have like a specific question to what their budget is, I would direct you to Vice President Leela. She could maybe ask you, answer more questions to that.
Senator Robbins.
Thank you so much for being here, Mulan, and for your very flashy presentation. I enjoyed the color scheme very much. Mr. Speaker, if you could go back to the slide that had right here. I'm just wondering, like for promotional material, is there any way we could have a breakdown of what that promotional material was? So that's a substantial amount of money to spend on promotional material, and just looking at it like at face value and not really understanding what that breakdown is. It can be a little bit confusing. So I'm wondering if there's any kind of breakdown we could get about what promotional material exactly.
Yeah, I can let Alex.
Yeah, I coordinated that purchase. I can get that to you. The reason why we spent more than usual over the summer was just because we found, or at least I found that in the past 2 years, ordering like small amounts of like the same thing over the whole year, we spent like a few $100s on shipping. And so it just made sense to order more all at once than to continue to keep ordering more and more and more. So it was intentional that we spent that much at the beginning, knowing that like we're probably not going to spend more on promotional materials the rest of the year.
Okay.
And so I can get that information to you.
Yeah, and that might also be great to have on there because just on looking at it, you would say, wow, we spent more on promotional materials than we did on the actual event perhaps. So just, having that breakdown, $2,341.84. It's a lot of money to spend on promotional material. But I trust you that it's probably better to buy in bulk.
Yeah, and
buy it over time.
and like the amount of things we bought, like we needed to buy the water bottles for Eagle Summit, or the pens for Eagle Summit. So it's on par with other years.
Yeah.
T-shirts were included in that too, to sustain the entire year.
Senator Coltomero.
And if I could just touch on that, because I was here during orientation too, there's a tremendous amount of freshmen who come through the AUSG table to find out more about how to get involved. And so having a lot of materials out there, pulling freshmen in to get them excited about elections in the fall, I think is really good. And it was good that they had a lot of stuff available for freshmen to take.
Senator Friedman.
I apologize in advance, I'm still playing catch up a little bit. So what is the organization that is the allotment body that's giving out, accepting the funding requests and deciding? Is it just the comptroller and you, or is it like a committee, or what's going on?
It's just a controller and me,
Okay,
and it goes through the funding request document and have a meeting with them. And then as far as I know, if it's a conversation that, if it is a large amount that, Giselle will let the other execs know, be like, hey, we're thinking about taking some money out of that structure. But that's a pot that's used not just for the control, but also for other execs to take money out of that and give to organization.
follow up.
Yeah.
So back to the other page though, there were two at the top, those student government sponsored events.
No, those are university sponsored events. So those are co-sponsored that we had gave them money for their event.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was.
So Explore DC, yeah, Explore DC is it's like a summer program that incoming freshmen do. It's like a community service that they do into the DC area. So that was just money that SG had gave to them for that for their organization.
Okay, so I just saw that and I thought,
Yeah, I'll make that a little bit more clear. Yeah.
as if we were being a programming board or something.
Mm.
Just to be clear, we're not, we don't do those kinds of things, or.
I mean, we do have our own programs that we have directly that's from SG that we're promoting it. But those two are not SG sanctioned events. Those are university wide. Yeah. But I'll make that a little bit more clear in case some other people that might have questions for it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
President Fernandez.
I just have two clarifying questions, thank you all.
Yeah.
The first one was about the affinity mixer that came from my cabinet, so I just wanted to clarify the $500 because we got that money, AUSG ended up paying a significantly less proportion through co-sponsorship, so is that the total amount, or is that what we gave, because I'm pretty sure that's not how much we gave. So maybe that's just a behind the scenes conversation that we can have to clarify that, because I'm pretty sure it was $250 from our end or something like that.
Okay.
And then my second clarification question was related to what you had mentioned about Senate legislation around university budget stuff. I'm just curious what you had envisioned, because that hasn't been communicated to my team at least. And the more the better, obviously, but I know Surem is representative in the university budget committee for the university. And then Tia's organizing with me all of the town hall and student engagement around university budget. So what did you mean by that? I just want to make sure I'm grasping what you're saying fully.
Yeah, so what I meant by that was not of us as a controller, like writing legislation and trying to promote it, but more so working with your cabinet just to and then working with your cabinet and also the new senators in case they might have some ideas. I know in the 13th Undergraduate there was the legislation about tuition free. So stuff like that are initiatives that can actually be implemented, just working with them to actually have it happen on campus. So less of saying, hey, this is what we want to happen, but more just advocacy.
Like a liaison.
Yeah.
Senator Zitzman.
Back to that a little bit. I remember from your first first slide about the bylaws that says that the comptroller represents student government in matters relating to the fiduciary responsibilities of the university. So I'm wondering if you can elaborate a little bit on why SOREM is the university budget committee and not Giselle.
To answer that question, so I think yeah. If you want to
Yeah,
answer,
that was a decision, both Jared and myself were asked by Dr. All to come up with an undergraduate representative for that committee. They wanted it to be someone that has been deeply involved in and informed about all things about finances at an institutional level. The report that SOREM did last year as a senator related to financial advocacy and everything was distributed to all of the deans and the entire president's cabinet at the university level. And because of that, we all thought his qualifications, his credibility that he gained in that space, and as well the familiarity that he has with numbers, with what's applicable, and what Dr. All asked of us, we believe that he would be the best fit for the school at the time.
Other questions? All right, thank you. All right, moving to Secretary Bailey's report.
Hi, everyone. I don't have a presentation, but feel free to ask any questions at the end. Good afternoon. Hope you all had a great week. I know classes are beginning to pick up, so that means midterms coming, so make sure to study for those. I have a few updates on projects that my team and I have been working on, so I'll fill you in on those today. And if you have any questions, you can email me or say it again. Like I told Sen a few weeks ago, something I'm concentrating on this year is being more conscious about like what aspects of my position should be like carried over from year to year, and what should be changed. And so as I go through my projects today, I want you to keep like that theme of like change and like institutional like position change in mind as we move forward. So lately, an aspect of my position that I've been working on improving is just being more responsive through email requests. So coordinating communications between like advocacy and programming requires like a distinct level of organization. So I've begun this week to move my team over to this online project management platform called Trello. It just makes everything more intuitive, so we can set timelines clearer, and we can set guidelines and deadlines that our whole team can see, so we can all be held more accountable, and so things won't fall through the cracks, and we'll be more efficient in responding to requests and creating content in a more timely manner. Yesterday, I was fortunate enough to attend the info session for the upcoming Senate elections. One of the things I told those who were interested in running was to either stop by today or watch online, as well as speak to all of you individually, because nobody knows the Senate experience better than all of you. And I know that speaking on behalf of Val and me, we've been approached by students on the quad and the library who are interested in running. So I know I personally have pushed them to reach out to all of you as well. So I encourage you to have conversations with people who are interested about running, not just about how to win their campaign, but how to be the most effective during their time in the Senate if they win their race. So you might have noticed that AUSG emails have looked a little different lately. That was purposeful. This is like a culmination of work that began over the summer. I've had a few goals in mind in terms of emails. At the top of the email, I think that accomplishes that in one way. In the future, watch for different images to change with seasons and sending the email. There's lots of opportunities to expand in that area, not just to have a bland, thing that students tend to delete as soon as they see it. So already we've actually seen a slight uptick in engagement with the new layout, which is awesome, and it's encouraging. So the second goal I had with this new formatting was to make it quicker to turn out content. So before, the system that was used was like a combination of two softwares, so Nation Builder and MailChimp. It was this process involved like designing the email on one platform, converting to HTML, doing some coding online, and then uploading to the other software, troubleshooting that, and then reformatting it to make it look nice, which sometimes ended up taking like up to an hour per email, which is not how anybody should be spending their time on something that should literally take 5 seconds. So now with this new way that we're going about things, we're gonna format directly on Nation Builder, which will save a lot of time and streamline the experience. So not only will it be like a more creative way to like express like the message we're trying to get across, but we can just make the whole process faster so people aren't waiting as long to send out emails. Next, so today I was, like Val said, we filmed a video with her and Tia Jackson, the Director of Academic Excellence. The goal of this video was to increase awareness of the upcoming roundtable discussion on the budget. Encourage you to say you're coming on Facebook. It's our first video of the year, so watch out for more over the next few weeks and months as well. About the student activity fee, I've worked on a handful of tasks over the past few weeks. We've reserved rooms for upcoming town hall events. So this Wednesday at 8 p.m. in MGC 3 through 4, and on Monday the 15th in MGC 3 to 4 at 7 p.m. Is when we're planning to have those 2 town halls. I've written a press release with updated information, including those times that hopefully we can get some student media organizations to attend. I've also created an initial language for a Facebook event that hopefully will be posted in the next day or so, as well as an event cover photo and accompanying posts. So look forward to sharing that information with students and making them more aware about this referendum. Another thing I've been doing is compiling the names, positions, and emails for every person in student government. Assembling this master list is like one of my actual duties as listed in the SG code. I personally have been here for 3 years and never actually seen a secretary publish this, even though it says that they should every year. So I'm excited to finally get over like that hump and make it more accessible for students to get into contact with members of student government. And that also relates to how this month, those who do receive a stipend with student government, we're going to be putting that through within the next week. So hopefully you can get paid this semester. In terms of general website updates for the AUSG page, as a reminder, if there's any updates that you would like to see on the Senate tab or any other tab that you see, please email me right away. And if it concerns Senate, obviously, please CC Trevor. Next, you should have got an email from me introducing you to our campus's new community jobs site, Quad Jobs. This is another project that we started during the summer, partnering with the Career Center here on campus. Quad Jobs serves as like a hub for students to find like one-off and quick buck type of jobs like babysitting, dog walking, restaurant jobs. So at the end of the month of September, the Career Center reached out to community members who had accounts with the SG Jobs Board, as well as their contacts that they've assembled to introduce them to the site first, because we wanted there to be jobs available when students were introduced to the platform so they could get started right away. Looking forward to I'm looking forward to seeing the progression of accounts that get associated with Quad Jobs. It's a step in the right direction for like a more modern and secure community jobs site. Next, I hope you have gotten to see the Women's Initiative new publication called Elbow Room. You can visit it online at elbowroom.space, S-P-A-C-E, so not .com, elbowroom.space. If you're not familiar, it's a publication that creates space for individuals to express themselves and their lived experiences through visual art, poetry, creative writing, articles, think pieces, and more. I was, assisting them in getting the website off the ground, but obviously the content is all up to them. I'm looking forward to continuing to promote that work and increase the overall audience to that site, and really cement that. WI's help them cement that in the organization. Also, just a reminder, today is Subs Battle of the Bands. I think that starts at 3 p.m. 3 p.m. Location is, the rain location is in Battelle. I've also been working to communicate the events being put out by KPU. This week and next week, we have the Parkland Students event on Tuesday, and then Loretta Lynch during All American Weekend. It's important that we get as high as turnout as possible. Another thing, this is like a non-AUSG related event. I encourage you, if you're interested in attending a Solidarity Circle tonight, the event is going to take place outside of K at 8:30. They're going to use like guiding tools from Toronto Burke, who spoke on campus last year, where they'll call back their power and amid recent events. And it's a survivor-centered event, so I encourage you to attend if that's something you're able to go to. Finally, there have been a few articles over the past few weeks written about the work that we're all doing by the Eagle. And I was proud to see at one point last week, there were 3 articles about student government in the main section on their homepage. So that warmed my heart a little bit that they're recognizing all the work that we're doing in this room and outside. Last thing, this is a personal thing. I want to acknowledge the winner of the Chicago Marathon, Mo Farah, this morning. He beat the new, he has the new European record with 2 hours, 5 minutes, and 11 seconds. I'm going to be in Chicago, going back home next week, so I look forward to taking a good fall break. So that's my whole shebang. If you have any questions, I can answer them now.
Questions, Senator Ditzman?
First, I'm glad that you're working on the directory. I remember corresponding last year about that with Chris a little bit, but it never got finished, so that's good. But on the referendum, I saw that you responded this afternoon to the email I sent you back in September. But that wasn't meant like that. But anyway, it's my understanding that there is an email that's been drafted about just information about the referendum. So can you update us? Like, is that correct? And also, is there any idea about sending it out?
Yeah, the language is drafted, and I anticipate sending it out all at once when we post the Facebook event for the town hall on Wednesday. Trevor's been my kind of point person on all stuff, student activity, referendum related stuff. But I can share that to larger networks too, so we can all be in tune with the messaging. But yeah, that will go out within the next day or so, because it's important that we have a large at the event. Thanks.
Other questions for the secretary? Seeing none, thank you. Awesome. Okay. For my reports, 1, we will not be meeting next week because of fall break. I've already heard from many of you that you'll be out of town, which is totally okay. So it'll just be easier to cancel the meeting and come back the following week. On that note, we have at least one more full meeting, not next Sunday, but the following Sunday, which is the 21st. And then we'll have a special meeting on the 24th, which is that Wednesday, still finding a time and place to certify the elections, because I believe that's the last day of voting. And then that may be the last 2 meetings for Senate. Maybe we might meet the 28th if there's any any other legislation that's being finalized, or any confirmations that need to be finalized for the 13th Senate. And then so that's it for our session. I am currently working with President Fernandez to conduct interviews for the Judicial Board. If you have anyone that may be interested, send them the application or direct them to the website. The application's up on the Senate page. Share it. I believe I posted it to the Undergraduate Senate Facebook page. And if it's there, share it with people. We'll try and close out the application by like Wednesday or Thursday. May be a little, there may be some wiggle room just because we're not meeting next Sunday, so we won't be able to confirm anyone until the following Sunday. But just let them know that like those are going to come, those are closing. I have like 6 or 7 applications actually between like chair positions and associate members, so that's good. Currently we have 1 acting member who is the acting chair. It's Chelsea. So for now, until we get new people confirmed, she'll be handling any cases, if any cases come up for the judicial board. And as Alex said, there's an info session tonight at 6 to 7, from 6 to 7, and then there's one tomorrow from 7 to 8, I believe, and then once 8 o'clock occurs, and that's when campaigning starts. So you know, either tomorrow night or Tuesday is when we'll try and go as full speed ahead for the referendum campaign, because that's official campaign season, but that still again only gives us 2 weeks. 2 weeks. So I want to thank Alex for helping get some town hall set up. We may try and find another one if possible, depending on turnout and interest, and if people have, you know, things that they really want to say. And then, like I said, I have plenty of business cards with all the with information for the website and things like that in the Senate office. So if you want some, let me know. Feel free to take some. I have some here today. And I think that's it. Yeah, that's all I have right now. So, questions for me, Senator Robbins?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I had floated this idea to you. I'm just going to say to everybody who's here today, we had spoken about the town hall schedule and recognize that there's going to be one next week, and then the week after, there's only one throughout that whole week. And it's in earlier in the week. So I had spoken to Trevor, and I had asked him if he would be interested in this, and he had indicated that he was. I'm just going to put it out there for everybody as well, that on the 21st, which would be a Senate meeting, we could have sort of like with all of us here, presumably we would already all be here anyway, hopefully. We would do some other kind of like info session, or like ask us after the meeting or during public comment, about the referendum, because that next day voting would open. So I just wanted to pose that to everybody here. I'd spoken to Trevor about it, and you know, he seemed very receptive to it. I think it'd be a great idea. I think we need to have as many of these info sessions as possible. So just wanted to make sure that I got that out there.
Senator Zitzman?
On these G-Board applications, do you anticipate there being 5 members by the time, or like 5 nominations by the time you close the application?
Possibly. I mean, there's enough applications to fill the board, but I haven't conducted all the interviews yet. So depending on how interviews go, we'll see. I anticipate at least having, I would say hopefully, if Chelsea stays on, having at least 2 more members. So that way we have 3. If she doesn't stay on, then my goal will still try to be 3 people at least before the 13th session ends. If both Val and I believe that they are, you know, suitable for the judicial board, then we may try and fill all the seats. It'll just depend, because obviously, like, she has 2, I have 2, and then we still have or if Chelsea stays on, one of us only has 1 actually. And then finding a chair for that as well. And then just like the legislation you passed, the Senate can decide next semester if, you know, they're suitable to continue on in their role and stuff like that. So, other questions? Okay. Moving to reports from committees, from CRP. The one nominee, Julia, was not present, so therefore technically her confirmation is still in CRP. But CRP favorably recommended Mr. Hayashi to be senator for the campus at large. That's why he's on the agenda now. And that's it for CRP. Questions for CRP? Great. All right, moving to new business. Yes.
Actually, I would urge members of the CRP to go ahead and ask the case director, send maybe a piece of correspondence to him and ask if he is still considering this nominee, and if so, to urge her to show up or withdraw the nomination, because at this moment, even if CRP were to give a favorable recommendation, I don't know if I would vote yes, just because it takes a lot. I mean, showing up is 90% of the job, so it hasn't been. I don't know her personally. She's probably a great person, but I don't think that I would support this nomination as it stands.
All right, moving to new business, to the confirmation of Curtis Hayashi to be a senator for the campus at large. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon, Mr. Speaker, senators, general public. I'd like to first off by saying thank you to the speaker and CRP for favorably recommending me to fill the vacant campus at large Senate seat. So first I'd like to start off by saying that in my experience as a sophomore at American University in the School of Public Affairs, I currently serve as the SK Undergraduate President, and I see that there is a lot that can be done in the School of Public Affairs and also for the campus at large. I believe Senator Legitimacy does represent the School of Public Affairs in the Senate, and I'd like to talk with her after this meeting to see what can be done more in the School of Public Affairs. Secondly, I feel that I am qualified for this position because of my experience in campus involvement. For example, I recently Senator Legitimacy is also involved in RHA, and I ran for Hall Delegate of McDowell. It's just that I appreciate all that American University has to offer and feel that by filling the remainder of this undergraduate Senate term, that there can be a lot done still. This does not have to be a lame duck Senate term for me. It will be a start of a larger initiative for me to personally advocate on behalf of all students here at American University when it comes to programming, events, and also the campus life as a whole. And I'd like to continue to my point of the referendum. The referendum to increase the student activities fee from $85 to $100 per semester. And I think a big selling point for this is that our student activity fee compared to other similar schools to American University is relatively low. With a low budget, with a low student activities fee, we are limited to only a certain amount of events, programming events on this campus. And Comptroller Associate Mulan Burgess, he has stated that, the student government is on a limited budget. We are limited by the fact that we only, charge $85 per semester for the student activity fee. I think that the speaker, along with his team to promote the referendum, is very smart to say that we will have $150,000 of additional funding just by a $15 semester increase for the student activities fee. And that's incredible how a small amount of $15 for an increase can go and exponentially say that we will now have about $150,000 to promote activities on campus, help the club council out, student activities, the media board, and student government. And when the budget increases, then, you know, as Senator Robbins has pressed the Associate Comptroller on, is will we spend our money responsibly? And I think as a Senate, it's important to keep our budget in line, and also to keep everyone accountable. I'm not sure where Secretary Bell went, but yes, I agree with Senator Robbins. $2,000 on promotional materials. I'd like to see how it breaks down. And, you know, and the transparency of the Senate should be more open. I appreciate that, you know, the speaker live streams our Senate meetings for the student body to see. And I wish that more people would view the Senate meetings just to keep senators accountable, for showing up, for doing their job, and representing their constituents, which I hope to do as a senator at large. And also, finally, I'd like to say that one of my initiatives as senator would be to be a liaison for students in the AU dining aspect. I currently work in the AU dining office as a peer-to-peer ambassador, where a group of students actually goes out and promotes what AU dining is doing and events that the dining services on this campus is putting on. For example, we just had a wing night last week Friday in the tavern from 7 to 9 p.m. Great turnout. Could it have been better? Of course. And I think that it's really important to promote AUSG events.
Time has elapsed.
And
Senator DeGoes.
I spoke about this in CRP, but I'll just repeat it. I've worked with Chris on numerous occasions in multiple areas that he's been a student leader on campus, and he has always been driven and passionate about what he's done, and he really enjoys helping the student body and the further community. When I met a couple weeks ago with Anne-Marie Powell, the director of the dining program, before I had even gotten to the meeting, Curtis had sought me out during my office hours. I will say that while I've been in Senate, he's the only person who has ever visited me instead of office hours, to sit down and talk about his experience with dining, directions to ask questions so I could get exactly what I wanted to hear from her, and to best understand the questions I was posing to her. And I really appreciate that initiative on his part, just to take 10 minutes out of his day to help me with the initiative I was working on. So I think he would make a fantastic member to this body for as short a time as he will be, and I motion to accept his confirmation and his consent.
I do.
All right, there's an objection.
Okay, so I was just gonna say, that I know, Kurt very well, and I know that he ran for, Senate last year, so he's been really wanting to be involved in the Senate, and he always asks me, when, are there any openings, can I apply to be a senator, and things like that, so he really wants to be a part of this body and make a difference, and yeah, so I also moved to do the same thing.
You just, as a recommendation from the speaker, you might want to look around and let people talk about, give their points in before making those motions.
I was just gonna say, this guy, we talked last month, he knows so much about dining, and if we ever want to save megabytes, get those meal swipes, this is the guy that's gonna do it for us, so. Great guy.
Other points of debate. Senator Robbins.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with everything that's been said, but, you know, I mentioned this in CRP, I'll just mention it again. I think Curtis is really qualified. I really like Curtis. He constantly seeks me out. We're not meeting next week, and then we have probably one more meeting before we go into before the elections have happened, right? So it's just, I don't necessarily really understand fully why we're having a confirmation so close to an election, but I also understand that we need people who are very qualified. I think Curtis is well qualified, but for the reasons that I just said, I'm going to be abstaining. So.
Senator Zitzman.
Yeah. So in addition to encouraging him to stay involved in student government and to join the 14th term, which would really be the only way that he actually does anything. One benefit of having a confirmation now is to make it easier to get quorum, which is a struggle every September and October.
Senator Legisi.
Yeah, along with all these points, I do want to point out that he's been here for the past, I think, like almost every meeting since the start of the semester, which is a lot more than I can say for at least myself and a lot of other senators. So I think we should definitely admire him for his dedication to this body, even though he's not a member of it. Ever since he got to AU, I remember seeing him run for a lot of leadership positions. He ran for RHA at least 3 times. He ran for Senate. I definitely don't think that if we confirm him, this is his end with student leadership. I think he has a lot of things to do and places to go, and I'm really excited to work with him personally.
Associate Comptroller.
So I ran against Curtis, when I was senator for class 2021. I think sentiments and Nancy said as well, do great, for the 2 meetings that you guys have, but I definitely, would encourage the senators that are here to encourage Curtis to also stay in, so that he can actually, do some more substantial work for the whole, academic community, not just for 2 senators. Also back to campus work, but encourage him to stay.
Yeah, he like works with, I think he has a campus job with the office, and he's very knowledgeable in terms of how that all works. So sad, by the way.
Senator Adams.
I just like thinking about all that going on. So yeah, he's like definitely going to run for undergraduate senate based on what I've heard from him. Like regardless of whether we confirm him or not today, but I encourage that we confirm him today because I think he'd be an asset to this body.
Other points of debate, discussion on the nominee. Seeing none, we'll move to vote without objection. All those in favor of confirming Mr. Hayashi to be senator for the campus at large, say yay.
Yay.
All those opposed say nay. Being the chair, the ayes have it. He is confirmed. Is he over there? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, unless there's objection, I'm going to add the swearing in to the agenda because that would probably be a good idea.
Useful.
Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name, do solemnly swear
I, Curtis Hayashi, do solemnly swear
that I will diligently and faithfully
that I will diligently and faithfully
execute the duties and responsibilities
execute the duties and responsibilities
of the office of Senator for the campus at large,
of the office of Senator of the campus at large,
that will abide by the governing documents
that I will abide by the governing documents
of the student government,
of the student government,
and that I will work to my fullest abilities
that I will work to the fullest of my abilities
to promote the interests and welfare
to promote the interests and welfare
of the students of American
of
University.
the students at American University.
Congratulations. Okay. All right, moving to Bill 1718-040. Let me find it and pull it up. Would the sponsor like to speak on the bill?
As you can see, it's kind of brief right now, because I'm introducing it now as kind of a skeleton structure of a bill, just to get the ball rolling so that it can be done in time for next week. But this is, part of my ongoing project to address the lack of institutional memory in student government. It is, for setting long-term goals. It's empty right now because the text has been written for quite a long time, but I want to make sure everyone's on the same page before it gets introduced, because oftentimes things just get introduced, and people get it in their email, and that's the first thing they see about it, and then everyone's confused on Sunday, and it never ends well. This week, I'm going to be having a couple more meetings about this bill, hopefully, and next week as well, since there's no meeting next Sunday. I've talked to a number of people about this bill already, but I just have a couple more checks to check off. So that's that. It will be reviewed by CRP, so I'm gonna make sure everybody in CRP gets it in advance of the meeting we have next time. If anyone else wants to see the bill, just talk to me, and I will give it to you. But basically, the goal of this is to create a structure where the goals of student government, the most important ones that happen over a long period of time, number one, aren't tied to any particular in turnover. And second, that we have structures in place to keep them relevant, make sure they don't fall off the wayside, and that we're accountable in pursuing them. So that's broad. I understand that there's not much now, but that's what it is.
Questions for the sponsor? Senator Robbins?
Yeah, I think this is a great idea. I'm just wondering, like, do you have any specific ideas for right now? Is it just?
You have the text bill, I sent it to you the other day. It is a Google document called SGAP.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question, or do you want to know?
It does.
Okay.
Other questions? Seeing none, it will be referred to CRP without objection. All right, any other new business for the Senate today? Seeing none, we'll move to old business. Seeing no old business, we'll move to public comment. Any member of the public wishing to speak at this time? Seeing none, we'll move to good of the order. First two executives for the good of the order. Seeing none, we'll move to senators for the good of the order. Senators for the good of the order. Senator Hayashi.
I'd just like to thank the Senate for confirming me, and also I'd like to just inquire about the referendum. So this Wednesday, the bagels and budgets with President Fernandez. Would it be possible to do like a co-thing between the referendum campaign and her thing? Because it's important because I spoke with Senator Robbins about this, about how we can pass the referendum, but what's the administration's stance on increasing the student?
Yeah. So with that, the two town halls were like planned separately and just happened to be on the same day. So it is a little weird because like you have the university budget town hall, which is like from I think 6 to 8 or something like that, or 6:30 to 8, and then the referendum town hall, which is from like 8 to 9 or 8 to 10, just that block of time. So they are two separate things, and we can't really join. Like we can sort of talk about them in both cases, but like specifically the one about like the budgets and bagels is the university budget and like what is happening on that level, and then the referendum is specifically with the referendum. But I will say that with conversations that I've had since May with people and the administration, if the referendum passes, then Dr. Aw believes that it was like well publicized and supported enough. She can simply put the increase in her budget, and then each vice president submits their department's budget to the board of trustees, and usually the board will just accept whatever the budget proposal is from each vice president. So there isn't like much. Like the board is if there's a positive vote for the referendum, Dr. Aw will support it, which then means the board of trustees will support it. So there wouldn't be an issue there.
There's no real overlap, right?
Yeah. Senator Zitzman.
Our election information sessions are going on in the coming days, and some have already happened. So I encourage everyone who's in the undergraduate senate to run for re-election in unless you've already decided for some good reason not to. Because every year we start over in a new undergraduate senate with almost entirely new people. And that's good for new ideas and energy and all that. But we also need some people who have have a different perspective of seeing how things have gone on in student government and in this body in particular. So if you don't have a good reason not to, I think everyone who's in the Senate now should try to be in the 14th Senate as well.
Senator Adams? Sure.
So, do you know, like, if we're trying to refund, we have to go to the information session, correct?
Yeah.
Unless you work out something special with Eamon,
If you wanna, just speaking from experience, and actually for your job, if you want to run for the student government position, even though you've already been in it, you have to either attend an information session or set up a private elections information session with Eamon to actually publicly run and campaign for office.
Other senators for the good of the order. Yes, Senator Friedman.
I'd like to thank Senator Robbins for sending a quick email to Director of Case and asking about the confirmation of his nominee.
Other senators for the good of the order.
I'd like to thank Senator Friedman for his thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so definitely remember, like, as Alex said before, like, if people reach out to you, or feel free to, make yourself available for those that are interested in the Senate, tell them your experience. I'll be attending the info session tonight and tomorrow, at least for like the first part of them, just to, talk about the Senate, but also talk about the referendum. And then for those there's only two, there's going to be it's like 2.5 weeks for the campaign cycle. So I highly encourage y'all to one, rerun, like Senator Zisman said, but also if you don't plan on rerunning, at least help me with the referendum campaign. That way we're trying to get as many people at least aware of what's going on and knowing, what is factual, what is not factual about all the information that's going around. And I'll be working more closely with AUCC in the upcoming weeks to figure out how we can reach out to the most people, and also be working with the RHA to figure out that as well. And again, remember to sign in for office hours. And if you need me, you know how to contact me. Everyone enjoy your week. Good luck with midterms. Enjoy fall break. And quick shout! Actually, I am hosting a breakfast and bingo night on Thursday in McDowell Formal at 8:30. If anyone's interested, come get some pancakes and play bingo. So it's open to anyone.
What's it for?
It's an RA sponsored event, basically.
What kind of
But yeah.
pancake mix would we do?
I don't know yet. But yeah, so have a good week. I will see you all in 2 weeks. So have a good one. We are adjourned. This is at 3, so that's 45 minutes from now. That's in Battelle Atrium.
Oh, I really want you to get it back. I'm really concerned with so much going on of your shoulders.
my
really.
bag isn't doing very well with the rips right here. So
I can imagine because it's not meant to.
Like, what is-
I think it broke.
Like,
Oh.
is just the airport security, they're not gonna send you this backpack?
no, what
Yeah.
happened was, it happened, but I had it several months ago.
So if I could just
And I was like,
put on
okay,
whatever
I'm
list
gonna
gets sent out
send it to my
to
house.
the
It's gonna take
agendas,
a while,
so I
but
can
left
be in the
it
know.
the day
And
before
also,
I scheduled it, so I gave them my
for
address.
the bagels and budgets, if we could not explicitly mention, well, not not
Please
explicitly, but not
forward this to me.
make it into a referendum thing too, just because some courts are co-sponsoring it and we'll be like,
Oh, that's not
okay.
my intention.
Okay, just wanted to.
No, I mean, that's why we have a separate town hall.
Yeah, just wanted to touch on that.
But people may bring it up.
Oh, that's
like
well,
students
of
may
course.
bring
We're
it
not
up.
gonna be like, no, you can't. But just,
Right, yeah.
just
No, I don't plan on hijacking
since we are
that.
co-sponsoring it, and the referendum doesn't go towards us. But all right, we'll keep in touch.
Yep.
Bye, guys.
See ya.
Oh, shit. Yeah, but apparently they're really kind of, I mentioned this to somebody else.
Hello.
Do you know who appointed Chelsea?
Capitol Hill Books, and it was signed. Oh, so.
I'm not entirely sure. We think Will did, making her a speaker appointment.
Because I
But we
looked through
don't
the
have-
agenda and it would appear she has been on the J board for a long, long time.
She has for like, I think it's been a year, like 2 years actually,
I know
which
she was
puts
on
that
it-
as Will's time.
She was on it during the 12th.
Yeah,
She was
but I'm not
fine.
sure. Like I said, I think it was Will who
Yeah,
appointed
Will
her.
appointed her, he talked about it.
Okay, so speaker appointment. Where the heck did my cap go?
Hey Bobby, where'd you get that shirt?
The exec office, and it's old, you can see it's got Student Advocacy Center and Auto on it.
Do they have Auto? What's Auto?
Auto was a service where, the comptroller's office would rent out vans to student organizations.
Yeah, it was like a
Wow.
transportation
Bike lending,
office.
wow.
Bike lending.
Yeah.
Do they still have? I want some.
Our services have.
I want some free swag. I always
What
need
is
shirts
that?
that I can wear
It's your
that I don't
cap.
mind getting all sweaty.
Unfortunately, it's
Yeah, I
not.
think if you go in
Doesn't
the
work well.
cabinet in there,
No.
drawers underneath.
Except,
Do I have to ask first, or do I just take?
Bobby,
This is really concerning.
Student government office.
Does it
Yeah.
need a
I
cap?
can just see the attack ad. I can see the
It
attack.
doesn't
ad-
need
the attack
one,
ad
but like
now.
it protects it from
Bobby's
like
X-Men
any
steals from
like,
Missouri.
anything happening, so.
Like every year.
I will see you tomorrow.
Yeah, sounds good. Wait, tomorrow.
It's Monday.
Oh yeah,
We have
All
the
the
same
time. Yeah, yeah. I was like, what?
I don't think anything's
Oh, there it is.
happened to it.
For what? Oh yeah, no, I'm like very particular about that because like I hate like I take very good care of my stuff because I don't
Borderline
want to-
obsessive.
I mean, it can be, but like I said, I don't want anything to like. I don't want to have to spend money to get a new one when I can just take care of the original one. You know,
Hmm.
especially when we're on a budget.
You can get insurance. There's
That's a whole
there's
other
that.
thing.
Jacob, have you seen the Facebook ads for like insurance for